years. There's a lot we don't know about this plan, but that would definitely be the headline. They've spelled it out very clearly. Now, before we can assess whether getting to that point, no fossil fuels in 12 years, is even possible, it is, as the Congresswoman just said, an ambitious goal, let's consider what it would mean for the United States. No fossil fuels would mean no coal, no oil, no natural gas. And that would mean no cars and no airplanes. It would mean shutting down the single most vibrant part of the entire U.S. economy, which is the energy sector. It would mean putting at least 6 million Americans out of work immediately. As of today, America is the largest oil producer in the world. The country exports more natural gas than any other place. More than 90% of all of our energy comes from fossil fuels and nuclear power. And we'd have to figure out a way to replace that in 12 years, using primarily solar and wind power. Ambitious? Well, that's one way to describe it. More destructive than a major war on U.S. soil would be another way to describe it. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand calls the prospect of all of this, quote, a really exciting thing. Kamala Harris agrees. Bernie Sanders isn't simply a fan. He says eliminating fossil fuels immediately is a moral imperative.
That it is absolutely imperative and a life and death issue that we have got to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to sustainable energy.
What's so interesting about that is that the party of science somehow forgot to consult actual scientists about their plan. Talk to someone who studies energy and see for yourself. We are nowhere near being able to do any of this. Wind power is a scam. It's an elaborate ripoff perpetuated on impoverished rural America by a few heavily subsidized corporations that are getting rich from making the landscape uglier. Solar is a promising technology, actually, but we're still far from being able to efficiently store the energy it produces, and storage is key in a power grid. Solar is not a replacement for fossil fuels now or anytime soon, and anyone who tells you otherwise hasn't bothered to learn anything about it. That would describe most of the people pushing the Green New Deal. How well is wind power going to heat your house when it's 30 below? What is the range exactly on those new solar passenger jets? Well, they don't know and they don't care because none of it applies to them. It never does. But we think the science is really interesting, and so we want to go through it really quickly with Daniel Turner. He's the executive director and founder of Power the Future, and he joins us now. Mr. Turner, thanks very much for coming on. So you're hearing an increasing number of people, and I want to be open-minded about this, but say that we're going to get rid of all fossil fuels in the United States and switch to something called renewables in a dozen years. Could we do that?
Not at all. The technology doesn't exist right now. And I'm optimistic. We may get there one day, but right now, here's a case in point. The largest solar farm in the nation does not produce enough kilowatts to power the New York City subway system. And that farm is 4,000 acres, which is 5 times the size of Central Park. So when Representative Ocasio-Cortez says we're going to power the entire country on renewables, there just isn't the land to come up with the solar farm or the wind necessary to have these renewables. So the science just does not equate to the reality of how we run our economy.
So what are they saying exactly? We're going to do this.